Hi, everyone. So happy that you guys are here for such a special panel. I'm Nora Gherbi, for those who don't know me. I'm the founder of Who Cares Chronicles, and I'm also a partner of ChangeNOW since its creation. Very happy to be here with you today for this very first panel on the topic of love. We've never done it before. It's such an honor to speak of love in a place such as this. This place is, after all, it's not a temple. This is not a wedding or any place where it usually is expected to speak of love on a glorious spring Saturday afternoon. So I feel, and I'm sure my co-speakers would agree, that it feels extra special to speak of the topic of love and to be together in a beautiful agora-shaped stage. Just taking a moment for the heat that's coming my way. Love in all its forms holds an incredible space, and it shapes and nurtures our lives. Its transformative nature goes beyond individual experiences, and it extends into relationships. There has been countless songs and poems, and even books, of course, speaking of this very topic. It's only normal that a few days ago, I was on another stage speaking of environmental intelligence. Environmental intelligence is linked to the heart. I quoted then, and I will quote it again today, that while we've been busy using our intelligent minds to build the world we know today, we forgot to use our intelligent hearts. The hearts, I don't know if you knew, but I discovered that while I was preparing, generates by far the strongest EMF in the body, which surpasses the brain's output in both electric and magnetic strength. As a predominant source of EMF oscillations, the heart produces non-linear interactions affecting the entire complex system behavior of a human being. The heart's magnetic field, which is the strongest rhythmic field produced by a human body, not only envelops every cell of the body, but it also extends in all the directions into the space around us. Think about it for a second. The heart's magnetic field can be measured several feet away from the body by sensitive magnetometers. Research even suggests that the heart's field is an important carrier of information. So before we start, I would like to invite you to put your hand on your heart if you'd like. You don't have to, it's just an invitation. And just feel it, feel the heart. There's only one organ. I put this shirt to make sure that I knew where mine was. So before we start, I wanted to share this with you. There's only one organ in your entire body that you can feel at all times. It's not your stomach, it's not your liver, it's not even your brain, it's your heart. I believe we were all designed that way to remind us of what matters most. Your heart speeds up when you're afraid, it hangs heavy when you're sad, it flutters when you're excited, like me right now, and it marks the calm rhythms of peace when you feel loved. And just as every part of your body is affected by what your heart is doing, every aspect of your life is affected by how you feel. Your emotions matter. Our emotions matter. By inviting love's presence in our heart space, it transforms everything in and around us. So with this heart-centered conversation today, I hope we can direct our hearts into universal love and into the steadfastness and patience of all the masters before us that have used their hearts to lead. And in doing so, I would like to invite two of the masters that we know today in our world that are mastering this. Teun Toebes is an international healthcare innovator. Please have a seat. And I also believe we have one more person, but I'm not sure he's here yet. So I'll wait for the cue from my wonderful team. Teun, thank you for being here today. So when I was researching and preparing for this panel, I immediately thought you would be the perfect panelist. You've lived in a nursing home for 3.5 years, in closed wards, with people living with dementia. You consequently wrote 2 books, and even a documentary called Human Forever, which won the Golden Calf, which is the equivalent of the Oscars in your home country of Netherlands. And I was just so inspired by this, but I wanted to ask you, and I'm sure everyone would want to know here, why did you choose to live in a nursing home for 2.5 years at a tender age of 21?
Well, I decided to start living in a nursing home because I deeply feel worried about how we treat people living with dementia. Because if we look at the marks of dementia, at this moment, 50 million people are living with dementia worldwide, and it will be 152 million in 2050. Also in the Netherlands, now it's 300,000, it will double within the next 20 years.
Wow.
But the most important is that we don't make the number the problem, but that we make our treat of people living with dementia the problem. Because if we start listening to people with dementia, then of course dementia can be really painful, but what's even more painful is the way we as a society treat them because of the huge stigma around it. So I was working in a nursing home for a few years.
But before you continue, maybe you can grab the mic too, and maybe we could show the trailer. And actually our second co-panelist is here. Satish, please join us. Please. I don't even think I need to introduce you. Please join us.
Mijn naam is Teun. Ik ben 24, kerngezond en woon op de gesloten afdeling van een verpleeghuis. Waarom? Ik ben 24, maar niet heel mijn leven. Daarom ga ik nu op zoek naar antwoorden voor later. In een reis van 3 jaar door 11 landen en 4 continenten kijk ik hoe wij in de wereld omgaan met dementie en de mensen die hiermee moeten leven. En hoe kunnen wij de samenleving in de toekomst inrichten voor de mensen die onze aandacht zo hard nodig hebben, maar die wij zo vaak vergeten? Iedereen, ondanks leeftijd of diagnose, heeft toch hetzelfde recht op een goed leven.
Ja, ben je toch helemaal niet meer van enig nut.
Heeft u dat gevoel?
Ja. Dat is toch ook zo? Wat voor nut heeft het nou nog als ik leef?
I think this is the first panel where I'm going to cry. So please, I'm going to get to you, Satish. Thank you for being here with me today.
My pleasure.
And to talk about the transformative power of love. I was just introducing the beautiful work of Teun, and I asked him, why did you choose? Maybe you wanted to remind this woman that she was still useful?
Yeah, the words of Leah, she has a feeling that she is of no use anyway. And when I heard that for the first moment, it felt so painful. But on the other hand, it was also very beautiful that she was able and that she was allowed to ask those existential questions to herself. And often we have an idea that all the elderly have to be happy when you look at the websites of care organizations. But what I learned since I started living in a nursing home with, for instance, people like Leah, is that all those kind of feelings and all those kind of emotions are part of life. And by listening to people, it's so important to really listen to people with dementia themselves, because it's a different voice which we often don't hear. And because of this honest relationship, we were able to build on a friendship with reciprocity, and that's totally not what people expect when we speak about dementia. The stigma of dementia is that we only speak about people's loss, about what is not possible. But if we start listening to people with dementia themselves, and if we give space to those kind of emotions, then we will see the human being. And we should never forget that only if we keep seeing the human being ourselves, then the human being will never disappear. So in order to have a more hopeful future for all of us, we really need to change the narrative of dementia and to have a more nuanced narrative. Then we will also have a different healthcare system.
I think beyond the dialogue around dementia, I think we have in our society, and I was just reading something while I was preparing for this, that a population that doesn't take care of the elderly and the children has no future because it abuses both its memory and its promise. And in this transition, I feel like, Satish, you have given so much to all of us here at ChangeNOW and all the communities that you touch, and you are what is considered an elder. How do you feel about his work in this context?
I mean, work is very good, and particularly we need young leaders like him who can bring some new ideas. Lots of people are just following the old economic system and the old model, out-of-date model, which is causing many problems. So young people like this, like you, who are thinking in a different way, in a new way, is marvelous. So I congratulate you, and I hope many, many young people are inspired by you and join you. And there are lots of young people joining. At the moment, there's a Fridays for the Future. That's a big movement. And there are lots of young people are challenging and questioning the system, which is very good.
Yes, and maybe there's a way for you to share, I mean, obviously the Human Forever, maybe you can tell us more about the documentary and how it's affected so many people, like how many people have seen it so far?
Well, in the Netherlands, we have won the Golden Calf, which is the biggest film prize, because we had over 80,000 cinema goers for a documentary. For the Netherlands, it's huge. And it's now being screened in 22 countries, so I came back from the US yesterday. But in the end, it's not about a film, it's not about books. In the end, it's about changing our culture, because if we see things differently, then we will do things differently. The way we look at people or the way we make them the other is the fundament for our whole system. So also, if we look at our healthcare system, it's not something which was born during the Big Bang. It's the result of the way we look at people. And especially in our Western world, where we have a lot of welfare, where we have a lot of wealth, a lot of prosperity, well, the poverty of our prosperity is that we institutionalize people based on their indication, based on their diagnosis. So if we speak about love, if we speak about belonging and the urge for that, then it feels really not normal to take people out of society, out of community in the last phase of their life to keep them safe.
Yeah.
Because if we talk about what makes our life valuable, then it's about the relations between humans, then it's about being allowed to face risks in your life, but our whole healthcare system is focused on having zero risks. And that's what we want to change by, for instance, such a film, to let people think about how we could do differently. Because, to finalize, we have visited 11 countries and 4 different continents. And the most hopeful thing is that everywhere in the world there are people striving already for years for a better future. But we only have to see that the change is already happening. It has already begun. We only have to share it.
Thank you. I will get back to what you just said, because there was a different setup in each country in how they manage people living with dementia. Satish, you yourself wrote a book about love.
Yes.
Please tell us, what was the genesis of the desire to write something?
Can I stand up?
Of course you can.
Because I would like to be a bit closer to the audience. Too far. Too far there. I have written a book called radical love. There are two kinds of love. One is a moderate love. And we need moderate love every day, like bread and butter. So moderate love is to love someone you like. You love someone who is close to you. You love someone and you expect that person to love you back. That's a good love, moderate love. But I would like you and me and all of us to go a step further and embrace radical love. The radical love is to love without expectation. Drop all expectation and accept the other person as the other person is. That's radical love. Now, radical love also has 3 levels. First level is you love yourself. How many of you are here who love yourself? That's good. Good number. If you don't love yourself, and loving yourself does not mean you have an ego. No ego. Not selfishness. You love yourself meaning you accept yourself as you are. You are very special. Each and every one of us are very, very unique. There is no other Satish Kumar in 8 billion people. No other person like any of you. And that's a uniqueness that you accept yourself. I am good as I am. And every one of us have a tremendous capacity. Any one of us can do what you want to do. We have courage. We have imagination. We have creativity. Every one of us can be a poet. Every one of us can be a singer. Every one of us can be a gardener. Every one of us can be a great cook. Every one of us have great potential to be who we can be. So loving yourself is to accept yourself and cultivate your true potential and become what is your true potential. Like each seed is a tree. But some seeds don't go in the soil and don't become tree. But every seed has a potential to become an apple tree or an oak tree or ash tree or a mango tree. So we are all seeds and we can become tree. That's the first love. Love yourself. Second, love everyone, irrespective of their nationality, irrespective of their religion. I went around the world. I walked from Delhi to Moscow, Paris, London, Washington, Tokyo, Hiroshima. 15 countries, 8,000 miles, 13,000 kilometers, without any money. I went to Muslim countries. I said, you are Muslims? I love you. Then I went to Christian countries. I said, are you Christians? I love you. Then I went to communist countries. I said, you are communist? I love you. Then I came to France and England and America, capitalist countries. I said, you are capitalist? I love you. So love does not discriminate against anyone. We have to love everyone irrespective of your nationality, religion, politics, economics, whatever your status. You are a human being and I love you. So that's the second love, is a radical love. The third love is love of nature. At the moment, we don't love nature. We see nature only as a means to an end. Nature only a means for economic growth. Nature is only a resource for the economic growth. We love economy, but we don't love nature. Nature is only a means to make economy grow. So that you have to shift. Nature is not simply a resource for the economy. Nature is source of life itself. So, love of nature is to see nature not as a kind of inanimate object for the use or to conquer nature. Nature is a living organism, and therefore we are nature. Nature is not just out there, the mountains, the forests, the rivers, like the Seine River, the beautiful river. Yesterday, I had a privilege and a joy of going in Seine River in a boat. It was wonderful. I love rivers all over the world. But nature is not just the rivers and the mountains, the forests and the animals. We are nature. We are made of earth, air, fire, water.
On that note, Satish, Teun also has something he wants to share with you.
What?
You have your microphone?
Oh,
What was the place of nature for you within the center, the home care that you were at? What was the place of nature?
Yeah, come here.
the place of
I want you to
nature.
come beside
Come
you.
here.
We're all coming with you.
Well,
Yeah.
I have a video.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to show the video.
No?
We're just going to keep talking.
I want
Yeah.
to.
He wanted to show. Maybe we can run
Maybe
it
we
while
can
we're
run
talking.
the
video.
first video.
Yeah.
Yes, this
Yes.
one. Because this is the place I was living,
Yes.
Anish.
Yes.
And when it's about nature in an institution, we take out nature. And we also take off the relations between people. So we institutionalize people based on their diagnosis. This is my housemate Ellie. We shared the bathroom, we shared the living room. We were living together. I lived for 3.5 years on the closed ward. But we didn't have real nature in the nursing home. And do you know why? Because we were afraid that, for instance, my housemate Ellie is eating the plants.
Yeah.
So we take out the plants, we avoid the risk, and then we put in plastic plants. For instance, another example, we have a digital table in the nursing home.
Yes.
It's called a magic table. It projects, for instance, digital butterflies on the table,
Yes.
and my housemates can tap the digital butterflies. And the idea is that then they feel dignity. But the only thing what I was thinking is, oh my God, we created an artificial world where we don't value those relations, this love, because we are tapping the digital butterflies, while the door to the real garden, where the real butterflies are, is locked. And why is the door locked? Because we are afraid to speak about the risks. So if we want love to be the fundamental aspect also in our healthcare system, we really should revalue humanity also of people living with dementia, because in the end, everyone wants to belong. Everyone wants to be part of something. Everyone wants to be part of a community. And that's it.
Now I have a question for you, Satish.
Yes.
It's a tough act to follow.
Yes. Yes.
But, I think that with all the legacy that you're giving us, like all the gifts of sharing your knowledge and wisdom and connection to nature and connection to love,
Yeah.
I feel like you two, because ChangeNOW is rooted in action,
Yes.
you two should find a way to work together, because your knowledge
Yeah.
applied to your work
Yeah.
would make so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deal?
Deal?
What's
Well
the question?
done.
The question is, what is your number one, given what he just told you and shared with you,
yeah.
what would be your number one priority recommendation to elevate what he's doing and facilitate in the context of love?
Yes, yes. What you are doing is to express your love out there. And particularly people who are in greater need. I mean, people who are sick, you are old, you are invalid, you are incapable, you are young. They need our love more expressed. We love for everybody, but they need our love more expressed than anyone else. So this is a great opportunity. If somebody does not need you and you love them, it's okay. But somebody also needs you, and then you love them. Then you have to sacrifice your own comfort. You have to sacrifice your own kind of self-interest, and also don't have any expectation from them. So this is what I am saying, that true love is to love without any expectation. And that's what you are doing. You are giving yourself without expecting anything in return. Of course you get return your joy, your fulfillment, your satisfaction, a sense of service. That's a great joy and a great gift back. But serving without expectation in any circumstances is wonderful. And this is what you are doing.
Thank you.
And maybe Satish, and it will be the same question for you.
Yeah.
If you had to give the audience maybe 3 fundamentals, I mean, I know you said who loves yourself, which starts with ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to love ourselves. And maybe 2 other tools that would make our societies more loving and lovable also.
Yeah. So put the first thing I have said already is love yourself, love all people, love nature. The second thing I would like to say is put love first. Love first.
Yeah.
Love before religion. Love before truth. Even truth. So everybody can have their own truth. Each one of us have our point of view. Truth represents diversity. Love represents unity. So put love before truth. Otherwise, diversity can divide you. Your truth, my truth, I'm right, you are wrong. We can quarrel, fight with each other. So if we put love first and then truth, love first, then science, love first, then religion, love first, then nationality, put love first. Love first. Say everybody, love first.
Love first.
That's it. Then everything else will find its right place in the right time. So if we put love first, that's the second point.
Yes. Third point.
And the
you got
third
1 minute.
Third point is to bring beauty with love. At the moment, we are creating a kind of ugliness around the world. Our crisis at the moment is not climate crisis. It's not economic crisis. It's not any other crisis. The real crisis is crisis of aesthetics. We have lost a sense of beauty, and we are creating so much ugliness around the world. So I would say love will bring beauty. At the moment, we become utilitarian. Everything should be useful, functional. And that's where love is missing. We don't build houses with love. We don't build our furniture with love. Everything is made by machine, and there's no love there. So this is why beauty is a very essential part of love. And this is why when you see a beautiful man, you fall in love. You beautiful woman, you fall in love. See a beautiful garden, you fall in love. Beautiful flowers, you fall in love. So beauty is an essential quality of love. And before we go, I'm going to sing a song with you about beauty.
Yes. You have time.
You have 2 minutes.
Satish, with you, time, we cannot count it.
Okay,
Exist.
let's sing the song. All stand up. Everybody stand up, please. I sang it yesterday. If you were there, you remember it. First I sing, you listen, and then I ask you to sing together, and then sing with me. I walk in beauty before me. I walk in beauty behind me. I walk in beauty above me. I walk in beauty below me. I walk in beauty all around me. The whole world is beautiful. The whole world is beautiful. The whole world is beautiful. Ho! Everybody has to say ho at the end. Everybody together. I walk in beauty before me.
I don't know the lyrics.
All your hands up, hands up. I walk in beauty before me. I walk in beauty behind me. I walk in beauty above me. I walk in beauty below me. I walk in beauty all around me. The whole world is beautiful. The whole world is beautiful. The whole world is beautiful. Ho!
Thank you, Satish. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 1 more minute for you, Teun, to tell us your 3 things.
Yeah.
And then I will walk you off the stage, my dear friend.
thank
Please. Your 3 things to to develop more love in our society.
I only have one thing, and I think that's
Perfect.
that's a treat due to the
Perfect.
time.
Perfect.
But in order to have a world where we don't exclude people based on diagnosis, based on indication, but that we have a world where we keep people being seen as a human being, human forever. That's what we always say.
Yeah.
It's not about more products. It's not about more money. It's not about more staff. It's not about more time. It's about a different way of looking, because looking differently will lead to doing differently. So the fundamental change is not about thinking in more, but about changing our culture. And that's a hopeful message, because culture is in all of us, and that's where we can unite.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Go home. After this change now, we are going to have this evening closing ceremony. But after that, when you go home, you go with one message from Change Now. I am going to live beautifully, create beautiful beauty, speak beautifully, cook beautifully, garden beautifully, dress beautifully. Always speak beautiful words. No ugly words, no angry words. Everybody speak only beautiful words. Go home and make beauty your mission.
Thank you, Satish. Thank you. And now, for our next segment of this panel, I would like to welcome Rose May Lucotte, co-founder of ChangeNOW. Please join me. And in the middle, and Josie Naughton, the co-founder and CEO of Choose Love. Wow, that was beautiful.
Difficult to continue after that.
Yeah, time management is sensitive, but it's beautiful. I'm so happy that we are finally here. Rose, you and I have to share with you the genesis of this panel. Like we talk about many things at ChangeNOW. We talk about transformation and change and carbon footprint, and we had never spoken of this very topic. And the genesis started, you and I were on a podcast together, and my mother had just passed. I'd like to dedicate this panel to her. And we started speaking about love and mothers and how mothers' love shape our societies. And I like to think of you as the mother of ChangeNOW. You mother everyone, and you managed to do it with such grace. And so it felt only normal that you would be here sharing the stage with me and Josie today. Maybe you can start by telling us how ChangeNOW started from a place of a motherly love with Esteban.
Yeah, actually, yes. ChangeNOW started out of love. Because I don't know, well, I'm sure you may not know the story, but it all started after the birth of our first child, our first son with Santiago. Just before he was born, the company where Santiago was working just closed doors. So he came back home a bit ashamed. Well, I have no more job. And I said, wow, that's a fantastic news, because my maternity leave will be together. And so we went on a road trip together. Our son, he was 40 days old, and we went on a 40 days road trip. And during that road trip, yeah, it was full of freedom and love, something I never experienced before. Love for the baby who was here, love for the time we spent together, love for nature, love, also grace of spirituality. And yeah, the whole story of ChangeNOW started at that moment. The idea was here before, but never we imagined we would give life to this project. And after this road trip, yes, it was like obvious that we had to launch it. there was no business model. It was like we just had a baby. I quit my job. He has no job. That's not really rational. And I think for our family, it may have sounded a bit weird. But yeah, to us, it was obvious. And yeah, it was, I think really love is what guided us. And I feel that also now it passed to our team. And I hope you felt that love when you met the team and when you met the volunteers. And I see in your smiles that there is also love. So yeah, that's spreading, and that's the transformational power of love, actually.
Okay. And I will add, they have not paid me to say this. It is true that ChangeNOW is really rooted in action. It's true on the scale of the work, but it's also rooted in love. There's a lot of, we have a friendship. It started as a friendship, and it continues so, and it is true. It's authentically rooted in love, which is also the root of your organization, Rooted in Love. Josie, maybe you can tell us how it started also and why you started it.
And just to say thank you so much for being here. Can you hear me? Oh, yes, you can now. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Nora, for having us here, and thank you so much for putting on this incredible event. So my name is Josie. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Choose Love. As you can see on my T-shirt. We are an organization that supports refugees and displaced people around the world and those who are affected by humanitarian crises. We do that by partnering and investing in local community-based organizations who are all, I would say, love personified and kind of changing that traditional model of aid. We started 10 years ago. I literally can't believe that we're about to turn 10. I was not working in the aid sector. I was working actually in music with the band Coldplay, who some people may have heard of. I was living in LA. It was my dream life. We were about to go on a world tour. And they came back to England to record in the summer of 2015. And so I was there. And that is when the refugee crisis happened. There's a photo that I'm sure everyone in the audience will remember of a little boy called Aylan Kurdi, who he was 2 years old, and his lifeless body washed up on the shore of a beach in Turkey. And I think there was a moment where just people suddenly were like, how can this be happening in the world? That's definitely what happened to me. And I said to some friends, why don't we try and raise £1,000, collect a van load of tents and sleeping bags, and we'll take them to refugees in Calais in northern France. But the links that we set up went viral, and I think so many people had all of this love to give, and they didn't know where to put that energy. Governments, big traditional charities weren't responding to this crisis. And so that £1,000 turned into £50,000 within a week. And over the last 10 years, it's turned into £130 million, supporting over 500 organizations in over 50 countries and working in some of the biggest crises of the last 10 years, Ukraine, Afghanistan, Syria, Gaza. And every day I'm just absolutely blown away by the fact that there are people in France, people in the UK, people in the US doing bake sales, doing runs, raising money for people they've never met before. And that love is being turned into food, it's being turned into shelter, it's being turned into children's coats. And it's an absolute privilege to get to do this work.
I think it's really interesting what you said about how do we define love? Because love is it's a hug, it's a nice word, it's food, it's so many things. Maybe I can ask you the same question I asked Satish and Teun is, for you, Rose, what are the 3 keys or the 3 fundamentals you would say are important when you're giving love or when you're sharing love?
That's a good question.
I mean, you're a very loving person by nature.
No, I would say love is just what you share. Actually, you talked about it. We talked about it yesterday. Is the body language shows love. When you smile at someone, when you look in the eyes of someone, when you shake hands, when you hug, this is love that is spreading. Noticing silence also can be proof of love. just being beside someone. And I really liked actually the movie we saw before with the elder person saying that what was the purpose of her life. And he was here standing. He was not answering. He was just listening. And I was waiting for the answer, but there was no answer. And I think that was way more powerful and a bigger proof of love. To just sit, to be close to her and just listen to her.
And actually, when I introduced, I don't know if people listen to the introductions, I hope they do, but when I introduced it, I said that, we can all be potential masters of love. Like, I think one of the greatest act or attitude that we can have is to choose to be an agent of love on this earth and to master it. And I read this quote that was very interesting while I was preparing also, which was, what is the use of having a full bank account, a comfortable home, and unreal virtual relationships if our hearts remain cold, empty, and closed? This quote was from, I believe, one of the masters, regardless of religion or spirituality. I mean, Pope Francis that was just buried today. I thought it would be interesting and important to mention him. Also, you've met him, and you and I talked about him. Again, regardless of the spiritual identification that people may have, how you identify spiritually, I think to choose to walk a path as a representative of love, just like Satish is such an interesting act to embody. Like, I really believe that embodiment goes beyond your words and actions. It's how you embody in your presence. So how do you do that? Because you do that. How do you embody love?
Yeah, but I like to talk about him also.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, because today, is the funeral of the Pope. So I think he deserves that we are grateful. Yeah, for all he did. Beyond spirituality, yes, but his message and his mission was deeply rooted in love of the planet, in love of the Mother Earth, in love of one to each other. And that's something I really loved in his message, is that this is interconnected. It is the same love that you have for the planet, for nature, for animals, and the love you have for the people. And actually, that's why he wrote, I don't know if you read the book. He wrote the book Laudato Si, and then another book, Laute Deum, and then Fratelli Tutti. And actually, this year, 2025, we are celebrating, the Paris Agreement, the 10th anniversary of the Paris Agreement. We are also celebrating the 10th anniversary of this Laudato Si book, which has spread all over the world beyond religions, because it talked about nature, it talked about love to one and to each other. And it spread, like I read in just a couple of months, I think in 6 months, 100,000 books were bought, sold, and it's been 10 years like that. So if you want to read that book, actually, it's both very intellectually super interesting, because it's very precise in terms of learnings on climate change.
It's very scientific, too.
It's very scientific, but it's also written with heart. It's €4. So I don't want to do advertising. You see, there is, but really, that's one of the masterpieces, I think, in terms of climate change. Fight about climate change and interconnection of love.
Oh, I was just gonna.
You met him.
I did. I was very, very lucky enough to meet him about 5 years ago at a service at the Vatican where. It was in support of the refugee community, which is a pretty radical thing to do at that time with the rise of the right. And it was incredible as you walked into the building, half the congregation was just refugees and displaced people. And that was just, it was beautiful. I actually burst into tears, and I feel very, very lucky to have been in his presence just for a short moment. And I think, choose love. I think the message has really resonated with people because it reminds people that there is a choice, that love is active, and we're currently in this, a world that is kind of on fire. There is a spiritual poverty in the world right now. And I think people's hearts are breaking at what they're seeing, but they don't know what to do. And actually, I think if people remember that love is active, we can all make different choices. We can all speak out. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but ultimately, what it feels like inside, you feel like aligned. It is right to help your neighbor. It is right to help refugees. It is right to help displaced people. It is right to speak out. And I may not, agree with everything that is in organized religion or in particular religions, but I so admired him because he spoke out and he was an inspiration to so many. And the world has lost a giant.
It's interesting because last year, while we were on the environmental intelligence panel, I had mentioned him because he had just hosted a delegation, was the first Pope to do this, a delegation of indigenous elders and leaders to understand their ideologies, technologies, wisdom. And I think it's very interesting that today we're speaking of him in the past, but it feels also very present. Because I think maybe you both can speak on this as an closure. And I'd like to mention also that we have great indigenous representation this year at ChangeNOW, including Elena Walingwa in the audience. Thank you, sister, for being here. I think what's interesting is love is a legacy. It's like, what type of legacy do we want to leave to our peers, to our families, to our communities? How do we leave that legacy? Maybe you can start on that.
Yeah, actually, that's super interesting. That's something I felt, and I think we talked about it during the podcast. That's something I felt really strongly during our road trip. I realized that the thing that holds the world together is actually love. Because through the love of the mother and the father, everyone here on the planet is the most precious person on earth. Through the eyes of your parents, you are the most precious thing on earth. And we are 7 billion here on the planet, and everyone is loved as such a beautiful treasure. So, and that's actually, when love is missing for a child, then it is unbalanced. And then, so we have so many stories that end badly because of what happened in this childhood and because love was missed. And actually, I realized later that actually it's not just the parents who give love to the children. When I remember when I saw Esteban, so our first son, he was 3 months old. We came back from this road trip and we decided to launch ChangeNOW. And one day I was looking at him and I saw in his eyes that he was proud, that it was like he was meant to be here for us to build that. And actually, the love of our children is also what nourishes us. So yeah, if you have children, really take all the love. They are here to love their parents too. So embrace it. They are here to refill the love at the middle of our life.
That's true.
And for me, I think love can be a part of your philosophy. I think it's an interesting challenge to go through the day or indeed go through life and make every decision based on love. And that was something that really struck me as I arrived in refugee camps and saw people being treated worse than animals. You are so aware that the politicians, the people making these decisions about what happens to these communities, that is not rooted in love. And what would happen if we did make a decision rooted in love? But it doesn't have to be on such a huge scale as that. It can be how you're treating your family, the smile that you make to someone on the street, volunteer with local organizations. You know, it's a lifelong work, but I think if everyone puts that into practice, then we'll start finding our way out of this situation that we're currently in.
I guess we all have to choose love. Thank you.
I think we do.
Thank you so much, Nora, for organizing this this session and bringing this topic front and center.
Yes.
In this.
Yes. And I think we should do it every year.
Yeah, let's do it. Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nora.
And by the way, we didn't get a memo to wear pink. It was completely accidental. And now, I am so happy and honored to welcome on stage Giles, Duley, my dear friend. Oh yeah, you got your microphone. Giles. Hey. So good to be here with you. Thank you.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for those who have still stayed. I know there's a lot of other things going on.
Yeah, there's also the closing and everything got pushed back a little bit, but it's important to talk about love, especially coming from a person from you who travels the world to capture photographies reflecting love in the most difficult contexts.
Yeah, I wanted to share a story. I'm a photographer who documents the impact of war around the world. For over 20 years, I've been covering conflicts. But I always say to people, I'm not a war photographer. I'm not a photojournalist. I set out on this work because I'm an angry man with a camera. I wanted to create change in the world through my storytelling. And in the process of that, I was injured myself in Afghanistan and spent 1 year in hospital, had to learn to walk again, had to rebuild my life. But I want to tell you the story about the first person I documented after that accident. The person that really made me understand what love is. In 2014, I was in Lebanon documenting some of Syria's most vulnerable refugees, the elderly, single-parent families, and those living with war injuries like myself, including a woman called Khulud. Khulud, when I met her, was living in a homemade tent in the Bekaa Valley, a tent made of plastic, cardboard, even posters ripped down from billboards. She had been shot 6 months before by a sniper while in the garden with her children. She was paralyzed from the waist down. If you imagine a tetraplegic woman living in a homemade tent, the only support she got was from her husband, Jamal. Her children would have to sleep on the floor around her. She had no privacy or dignity. And yet, when I met her, she laughed, we shared stories. And I remember asking her, what's your one hope for the future? And she said, Giles, I just want to feel like I'm a mother again. So I photographed her, and those pictures appeared around the world in quite well-known magazines and newspapers, were used by aid agencies. But 2 years later, when I returned to Lebanon, I found that she was living in the same homemade tent. In fact, when I went to visit her, I burst into tears to find her in the same bed. If you imagine, this homemade tent has no windows. She had not been outside for 2 years. She's lying in the same bed, staring at the same bit of ceiling. I burst into tears and I said, I failed you. I was supposed to share your story and nothing has changed. But Khulud is like an angel. She just smiled and she said, it's okay because we knew you'd come back. So I decided the only thing I could do was to do a better job. And so for the following week, I spent all my time there documenting her daily life. Now, if you imagine, her husband Jamal has lost everything. Can you imagine what his greatest fear is? In fact, he's so sure of it, he's learned to say it to me in English. He'll take me to the side of the tent, this little kitchen they have. This man that has lost his home, many of his family members, who lives in a homemade tent. He says to me, Giles, my greatest fear is that Khulud does not love me as much as I love her. For their tent is a place full of love and hope. So as I say, I spent the week there documenting their story. And I always take photographs back with me to give to the people that I've been documenting. And in my bag, I had this photograph, the photograph that I had taken 2 years before. And I wanted to give it to Khulud and Jamal. But I remember looking at them and realizing they were in the same situation. He was sat like this at the end of the bed. She was still in that same space. And I thought, if I give them that photograph, won't it just remind them that nothing has changed? Won't it remind them that they are stuck in this hellish limbo? But I thought, no, I have to give them the photograph. But before I handed this image to Khulud, I looked at her and I said, when I made this photograph, I did not make a photograph of a refugee. I was not making a photograph of a woman living with disability. I said, when I made this photograph, I was taking a photograph of love.
Absolutely.
Of a couple who love so much each other that you could see it in every moment of their life. And that is the moment I truly realized I'm not a war photographer. Because if you look at my photographs, there is not one image of a soldier, a tank, an explosion. What you see is a grandmother brushing a granddaughter's hair, a mother feeding her baby, a father on the floor doing lessons with his children. Couples like Khulud and Jamal holding hands and dreaming of different futures. That is what I document. I travel to some of the worst places you can imagine. I see hell on earth. But what do I find there? What do I photograph? I document love.
I know you do. You're gonna make me cry. At dinner last night, you were telling me how you just came back from Ukraine. You might want to share a little bit about that, maybe?
It's actually hard for me always when I come back from the field. Exactly this time a week ago, I was in Kherson Oblast and actually documenting a family whose story is one of the worst I've ever documented. And I won't share that story, it's not really relevant. But what it did do is in those darkest moments, it's very, very hard to believe in humanity. It was a story of sexual violence of a young girl with disability. It was horrific beyond words. The whole family was living in the shadow of that. We were very close to the front line. In fact, we got targeted as we left by drones. This family has to stay indoors because it's too scary to go outside for them. In that moment, it is very hard to believe in hope, in humanity, in love. But I have a belief that I was injured myself through hatred, but I was rebuilt by love. And so as I travel in those darkest moments, I myself have been there. And that's what I always try and share with the families, is that my greatest strengths came from those darkest moments, and that I was plugged in to love. And so I still believe, despite the things I've seen, that humanity is strong. Because actually, why did that particular story affect me so much? It affected me because of the brutality of what had happened to the family. But the reason it really hurt is because I could see the love within that family. I could see how much they loved each other and supported each other. And so for me, that is always the genesis of how we help people. I have my own foundation that was born of love. When I visited Khulud afterwards, I returned and I said, I could never do another story where I could not see an impact. So we set up a foundation to help families. And all we do is share stories. And when we share stories, people want to help and support. So despite everything I've seen, despite my own experience, I believe in the power of stories. I have a burning house theory that we were talking about last night.
Yep.
My burning house theory is, we live in a world where we're told it's divided, there's so much anger, and there is. But if somebody is walking down a street and they see a house on fire, I still believe that 95% of people, maybe 99% of people, if they see somebody in a burning house screaming from a window, their instinct will be to save that person. They will not say, are you black, are you white, are you Christian, are you Muslim, are you straight, are you gay? No, the instinct is to save the person you see screaming. So my job is to make people understand that those fleeing wars, those caught or injured in conflict, are like that person in the burning house. Because despite everything I've experienced, I believe people have love for their humanity and for others. What we have to do is to stop the people that are trying to divide us, the people that are trying to create that anger, and remind people that those who need our support is that person screaming from a window, just asking to help from that fire.
Such a beautiful story. Thank you. And maybe you can share how your work is disseminated, because you're showing your work around the world. Last time in New York.
Yeah, I mean, as a photographer, I'm just a storyteller, and that's one part of what I do. But actually, I was thinking, we were talking again we met last night, which is really nice to catch up, and we were sharing food, because my other life is I'm a chef. Because I realized that food is the opposite of war. War is hatred, war is destroying communities. But food is bringing people together and how we show love. So for me, the greatest anecdote, greatest enemy of war is food and sharing a meal. So when I have an exhibition, I always make sure we have a shared meal. In fact, my last exhibition in London, I had a plan to have 1,000 people sit and eat with me. And so over 10 nights, we had 100 people, and we sat and we shared stories. Because all I am is a storyteller. I am gifted these stories. I'm entrusted with them.
Yes.
When somebody like the family I met last week shared their story, it's not because they want to be in the New York Times or on the cover of a magazine. No, they want people to hear their story and come together and help. So for me, what's important is how we share those stories and over food.
Can you share the story of the babushka that gave you the Ukrainian tomatoes that we had in New York?
We had an event in New York where I bought some beautiful Ukrainian tomatoes, pickled tomatoes, with me. Again, as I say, food is like a gift. And there was this amazing babushka, her house had been destroyed. I was there around that time, and we were in the basement, and she had a big jar of these pickled tomatoes. She said, well, these tomatoes saved my life. She said, I hid behind them. She said, you take them. So I had this huge, great jar of pickled tomatoes, and I took them to New York, and we did an event. But that's what I mean about sharing stories. In the same way, she had pickled those tomatoes with love. I had taken them, been gifted them, took them to New York, and shared them with someone else, and then you share that story. And that's all I ever ask people to do with my work, because my work is stories of love. And all I ask is that people share those stories with someone else, because in those stories, we find our shared empathy. Elon Musk said a couple of weeks ago, the greatest threat to his work, the greatest threat he thought to Europe and America was empathy. That actually brought a smile to my face, because he had just said, his greatest fear is what I do. His greatest fear is stories. His greatest fear is love. And so we must combine and be stronger and share stories, show empathy. And in that, we unite around love.
Thank you, Giles. You're a master of love. You're a photographer of love. And you're my friend. I'm honored.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have a surprise for you. Don't go anywhere. Something magical happened yesterday. There's just one expression of love is joy. And I met the embodiment of joy in the person of Lakoya, an Ecuadorian singer-songwriter based in Paris who builds bridges between Latin and French culture. She's going to sing us a song about love. You're not going to be disappointed.
Thank you so much for this beautiful invitation. It is an honor to be here. Hello everyone, how are you? How are you? I'm so happy to be here surrounded with such a beautiful, beautiful people, a panel of transformation of love. We're going to do a little experiment of love. Please stand up. Please stand up. I'm going to sing you one song, but let's show the world what love really is. Please, hug your neighbor. Hug your neighbor without any fear. Eso. Let's show love, my people. Let's show love.
I didn't understand.
Okay, I have the honor to sing a song for you, because we can transform life through love, and me through music for you. And this is a song. I come from Ecuador. Que viva Ecuador, que vivan los latinos, que viva todo el mundo. I come from Ecuador and I'm very honored. The sound that you will hear is from the Cordillera de los Andes. It's the pan flute, it's the charango mixed with a cumbia. So, I'm going to ask you one thing. All the fears through the door. This is the moment to enjoy life. Are we good? Yeah. Are we ready to dance?
Yeah!
Let's get it.
Una rosa se marchita cuando duele el corazón. Una rosa se marchita cuando duele el corazón. Arrancaste, mi amor, lo que había dentro. Perforaste un hueco en mis sentimientos. Ese último pétalo que queda ya, te lo doy, yo me voy, no te quiero más.
More music, please.
Afuera esta pena, yo me la voy a sacar. Apunte candela, ese amor al bailar. ¿Pa' qué? ¿Pa' qué tanto sufrir? Todo lo mal le vamos a sacudir. ¿Pa' qué? ¿Pa' qué tanto esperar? Un jardín de rosa yo puedo plantar.
Tu fais les remerciements.
Otra rosa espinosa ya floreció, se enriqueció y de oro ya se vistió. Que tú creíste que yo no me iba a levantar, que tú pensaste que te manía y tú iba a parar. Ay, qué ingenuo, mi amor, echa pa' allá, que la latina viene a arrasar. Cuidado, mi amor, con regresar, let's go, que mis espinas ya están hechas pa' tocar. Afuera esta pena, que te la voy a sacar. Apunte candela, ese amor al bailar. ¿Pa' qué? ¿Pa' qué tanto sufrir? Todo mal le vamos a cubrir. ¿Pa' qué tanto esperar? Un jardín de rosa yo puedo plantar. Yo pincho, me lastimaste, bebé, y dejo una cicatriz en tu piel. Pincho, mi marca tú vas a tener, te dejo. Este cuerpito no va. ChangeNOW, everyone. Afuera esta pena, no me la voy a sacar. Apunte candela, ese amor al bailar. ¿Pa' qué? ¿Pa' qué tanto sufrir? Todo lo mal le vamos a sacudir. ¿Pa' qué tanto espero? Un jardín de rosa yo quiero plantar. Everyone, come on. ¡Que viva Una rosa espinosa, una rosa espinosa. Baile, que baile, que baile, que baile.
Thank you so much. Before you go, thank you. And I want to share one more thing with you. Very important thing. You're going to come with me. What's your full name?
Okay.
Okay.
Daniela Isabel Espinosa Salvador. Acá la coya.
Right. And Espinosa means rose, right?
Yes.
And the song you sang.
The song is called La Rosa.
La Rosa.
The rose.
Love is stronger than everything, even death. My mom, which I dedicated this panel to, upon her passing mentioned that she would communicate with me through roses. And I met her yesterday, not knowing what she was going to sing and not knowing her name. Thank you, Mama. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.